first person on the agenda is our new E.M.S. director. I want to welcome her to the joys of the microphone.
Good evening. First off, I want to announce that we are the recipient of the NIPSCO grant. What this is going to allow us to do is essentially provide EMR certifications to our fire departments. We have asked for 20 books, as well as workbooks, t-shirts, binders, everything that they need to complete the course. And it will be essentially free for us. So for them, we will be working with each department to see who's interested in coming and getting the EMR certification. As of right now, we have an EMR waiver, so that allows us to practice as paramedics and advanced with an EMR driver. So this directly does affect our service and will help us in the future. So we're very excited to bring more care to Pulaski County. Our EMRs are typically the ones that are first on scene caring for our patients. All right, so to move on, I wanted to talk about my matrix and our E.M.S. staffing shortage. It takes 12 persons to fill our staffing roster at this time. I am 3 EMTs down, and what that means, I am facing the challenge of having to shut down an ambulance. That is not what I want to do for this community. So I would like to look into adjusting my matrix and making a higher competitive wage. If you guys received my email, I did go ahead and I've presented cost analysis within the surrounding areas. We are about $2 low, specifically on our EMT wage. Biggest thing to remember is that we don't have a lot of practitioners coming into practice. We essentially have 1,400 practicing paramedics. Registered in the state of Indiana is 4,100. Again, that is 1,400 that are practicing in the whole entire state of Indiana. I did send a brochure to you guys that is from the state. This is the 2023 model. And what we're looking at is the new certifications by level. You can see that there's not many new certifications versus total, as well as the retention rates continue to drop. The wages that I'm proposing, they won't fix our current wage shortage. However, they can start to help to develop a better analysis going forward for our wages. If you look at the Pulaski County full-time staff, my paramedic wage is $19.03, which is the 5th from the bottom. My advanced is $14.87, and my EMT is $13.08, which makes up the very bottom of the full-time staff in rank of pay. As the director, I make $23.79. I didn't sign up for this for a pay raise. I signed up for this because this is my community. I want to make sure that people are being paid appropriately so that we continue to have good providers that are willing to come to our area. Front row, that's my family. I service my family, and I don't want to shut down a truck that may make it so that when they need the care that they deserve, they can't get it. And I will say, when you think about us as a service, last year we operated at under 1.1 million. You can round it to 1.2 at this time, but we did receive returned rates of 660,000, a little bit over than that, back to the general fund. So really, when we think of how much we're operating for, it's a very low cost. Other communities have had to go to hospital-based services, and some of those quotes are 1.4 and they're not receiving anything back into their general fund. So that's not something we want, to have to go to a hospital-based service where we're not seeing the revenue generated that comes back to our community. So I guess at this time, I'd be curious if we can have a discussion more openly about these wages and my matrix. I'm proposing that we increase the EMT wage to $15.60, the advanced EMT to $16.90, and the paramedic wage to $20.80, and the director to $26.
What does the board have questions for Dorothy?
Absolutely. So if you look at the counties that have 2,920 hours, they are directly equivalent to us. We work a common hourly setup, just like the rest of fire and EMS within the national standards. We operate on a 24-hour, 48 off service. So it is with national standards. However, we are the lower end within our service area.
Just out of curiosity, but with, that's what I was going through, because unfortunately, I think we received this on Saturday.
Yeah, I just got off of a 72-hour shift, so
and
I went to work at 8 a.m. on Friday, and I am still technically actively at work at this point.
And so, that, and I know that things happen. Unfortunately, it didn't give us much time to really look anything over and all. But so one of my questions is, and maybe it's in your data. I just haven't had a chance to see it. But when you look at hours worked, number of hours worked, number of hours off compared to other staffing, other companies in the way they staff, because when you work a 24 on and time off, you work we'll call it in the office for 24 hours, but you're off, you get more days off as well throughout the year because you're working more hours at one time. But my question would be is during that time, when you look at your hours worked per year and your total salary per year versus surrounding counties and other ways they do it, how does the total income per year round out versus?
We are still significantly short, especially on our EMT wage. If you think about EMS, essentially we work a third of our life. So every third day we are at work. That's 24 hours, sometimes even longer, without being with our families. So when you look at my EMTs, you think about how much they have to pay for a babysitter for 24 hours. Some of them are not able to make ends meet at this point. And I'm at risk of losing the fellow EMTs that I do have.
And I know, and I appreciate it because I know we had a conversation earlier prior to the information coming out a week and a half or so before. And that was some of the questions I asked at that point was the fact of, when you talked about people trying to manage daycare and stuff, is the issue all about, and I'm not saying that they don't deserve more per hour, but I'm trying to solve not only the hourly problem, but possibly any other root causes that seem to make us deficient in employees, which I don't know that we're in any worse place than any other counties around, because even the ones, I did a little research on my own, even the ones that might pay a little bit more or have different staffing hours and stuff, seem to be struggling, just as you said earlier about the fact of having the manpower and the people coming into the field. So then my question is, is part of what we need to do have to do with how we man our shifts, hours that people put in when you talk about, trying to find somebody for daycare for 24 hours, even though maybe it's not as cost efficient, but maybe it's things that we have to do so we can staff our trucks, make people available, and still give them some kind of a home life, family life, something they can afford to live in. Question.
Even if I did go ahead and adjust the schedule, what you'd have, so if I did a hospital-based schedule where they work 12 hours, my wage still doesn't justify them being able to support their families or themselves. Yeah.
So on this page where you put the page, the amount that we are paying versus the amount that you would like to see them to pay. You put 2080 at the top. Is that 840 your overtime?
So yes,
That's not the right number. I don't think. It should be 1040. So you're shorting yourself based on the number is not accurate.
so essentially it should equate to that 2920. So 2,920 hours. Essentially, right now it's 10 shifts a month at 24 hours. So anything over 40 is considered overtime. And the way that our county schedule works is that if you work on a Saturday, 12 of it is paid on Saturday and 12 of it is paid on Sunday. So it rolls over to the next pay period. Roughly.
Totally staffed at our current rate is 677,000 something, and with the requested changes, looking at is 762,000.
Correct.
Excuse me.
Ideally, I am looking at schedule changes for January, so these numbers can change. I would like to see, hopefully, that we can get some of our staff off the truck and not on them nearly as long. That is something I am actively working on. Like I said, it would be interesting to see the wage go up so that I can do that. Because right now, my staff is in a panic because if I eliminate just one day, they can't make ends meet.
So if we pay, sorry, I'm backtracking. So if we pay 120 hours, so 72 hours monthly, 48, so that's 120, right? Yes, okay. So that minus 40 hours, so you're over minus 40 hours, right? So
Yeah, after 40.
So 40 hours of overtime per pay period, right? So 40 hours at 1308 times 1.5, 1962 an hour times 40 hours is $784. And then if you take the 8 hours times 1308, sorry, hold on.
I actually have a pay stub for both the medic and the EMT.
So it's $47,590, but on your pay thing, it says $42,687.
Irregardless, we're still low because you look at the services that have the same total working hours as us, their EMTs are making $15 an hour. We're at $13.08. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm working on a schedule change, so hopefully it reflects more of that schedule change. Either way, we are significantly lower than other surrounding areas.
I know that you had said in your email or in your letter that you got some of this information from Travis. Has the state done any detailed investigation into why only a third of the certified paramedics are currently actively working? Is it just a wage issue? Is it a quality of life issue because of the hour structure? Because I mean, I've never lived that life where you're on 24 off 48, but it doesn't seem super appealing to me. But I also know that if the county tried to get like to a schedule more akin to what our deputies are, like the 3 on 4 off, 4 on 3 off, that would require a substantial increase in headcount, which would then likely lead to a substantial increase in benefits costs. That is avoided if we maintain this. But even if you can get the council on board with what you're proposing, is that going to be enough, or is this just a lifestyle that is increasingly unappealing to a lot of people if 2/3 of the certified paramedics in the state are not active right now?
So some of that comes from people advancing to their RN. Paramedics have typically been underpaid for a significant amount of time. So a lot of times, once they get tired of being on a truck, they will go ahead and get their RN certification. So some of these are either people that work in offices, such as directors that are not on the trucks. These are also your RNs that still hold their certification. However, they're not actively working on trucks. And some of these are also educators within the area. So these would be like professors at, say, Ivy Tech, things like that. They don't always practice on a truck.
So are you requesting that this change be made as tonight, or is this information for our review?
At this point, I'm at a critical staffing point. Like I said, I don't want to shut down trucks, but I also know that it's not sustainable for me to continue to work 72-hour shifts. So the sooner the better that we start looking at really adjusting wages and making it competitive to those around us and making it so that our EMTs want to come to this area and that we can actually get new EMTs. I have a ton of emails that individuals within our area are wanting to be EMTs, and I want to make sure that it continues to be attractive to them to take 6 months of their lives to become EMTs and actually be able to live on the wage that we offer.
What's the council's wish now? Any other questions for Natasha, our E.M.S. director? Council, what to do?
I got a couple more questions. Natasha, have you ever seen any exit interviews with employees that have worked here and now gone?
Yes.
What do those say?
Most of them have continued to stay part-time. I did have one recently that has resigned to part-time. She is now making $18 and some change, working 40 hours a week. So essentially she's working 16 less hours and it's a $150 difference for her. She is performing as an EMT in a doctor's office.
I guess that's still some of my concern is the fact of, when I listen to what's being said, and I haven't interviewed the other folks that work for you directly, but I still have some concern, Not saying that, like I said, I'm not disagreeing that wage adjustments aren't needed and all. I'm just concerned that just doing a wage adjustment by itself, I'll be honest, I'm not convinced at this point. Might give a 3-month bit of rally, but I'm not convinced myself that is the whole problem. Is the that's just.
And things are actively being worked out with personnel. However, there's not much I can do to attract new personnel at the wage that we're at.
Right, yeah, like I said, I'm not saying, like I said, once again, I'm not saying that the wage isn't wrong. I'm just saying that I'm not saying it's right yet either, because I haven't had enough chance to take the data that's been given to me and analyze it and look at how it, because it also is a little harder than just saying a $2 an hour raise, because we need to make sure that this paperwork, also this raise, might be a little bit more, a little bit less in the scope of things as to how we adjust it into the matrix and make sure that it falls into the documentation and the paperwork that we use through payroll county.
And I think Nathan can tell you that I think my second day on the job, we started this process. So it has had a lot of research. When I'm not on the truck, I am actively working and interviewing my staff to make sure that they're willing to stay. Most of them, they could get a job for $35 an hour right now. So we want to make sure that, we are staffing this area. And by not being competitive, like I said, I'm going to have to shut down ambulances. And that's not what I want. We have a duty to our citizens.
We as council members also, though, from the other side, have a duty to ensure that we are doing the same thing for the citizens. So that's why we need to, in my opinion, be just as diligent on doing our research and understanding the data, make sure we make sound and good decisions for the community as a whole, notwithstanding the fact that, yes, we want to definitely make sure that we provide the services set out by professionals.
Natasha, do you see most EMTs wanting to move up? I mean, that's like the entrance level of your jobs, right? So are we always going to be in a position to where, we hire EMTs or get the paramedics license? But I think we pay for that, don't we?
No, we do not. We do not. So it is $8,000 to go to paramedic class right now. And looking at what our EMTs are making, a lot of them can't afford to sacrifice hours to go ahead and advance themselves. So yeah, it comes completely out of their pocket. I paid for my own paramedic certification while working for the county as well.
But even something like that may be something else that would be beneficial for the county to look at to help folks be able to move up and to increase their wages by going to the next level by putting together some kind of a program where we can help a tuition reimbursement where we pay it up front and stay with us. I know we've done that with other departments. If they stay with the county for so long, the total cost is covered. If they stay only so long, they reimburse us 50% or whatever. But I think maybe that's some other options to maybe solve some of these problems, like I was trying to allude to earlier about the fact that not only is it a pay issue, but an issue of trying to build the staff and build the morale of the department and try and help these good folks accelerate to another level where they do make more money an hour instead of staying at the entry level.
And I can teach EMT, EMR, and advanced classes. We cannot host paramedic level courses at this point. I am a paramedic and I also am a primary instructor. So that is a level that I can teach at should we be able to be affiliated and start that program ourselves.
What I was getting at was that, and I'm probably going to make the sheriff and sergeant over there cringe, is, I think we're chasing our tails. I don't know that we can ever pay enough to compete with, the bigger counties around us. I think that's just a fact. But what I think we can do is maybe think outside the box and come up with a way that,
We do have enough paramedics, and some of the sheriff deputies actually are doing their own EMR, EMT classes, not through Pulaski County.
They seem to stabilize the sheriff's office as far as employees. And I don't know if you have, that's why I was asking about the exit interviews, person on night shifts, maybe get paid some more. And my thoughts were, and I don't know if it would work, I'm just throwing this out, is that, could we take deputies and pay them a little bit more, give them whatever an EMT carries, they show up, do the EMT business, so you get there with the truck or however that works. I don't know all the ins and outs. And, you do the paramedic work and then they're done and you go back to doing deputy work. I don't know if that would work, but to me, we've got to think outside the box. We're never going to pay enough for EMTs to, I don't think we never pay enough. In my short time, we've raised, your rates several times. And
It was raised 11 cents for EMTs the last time.
Yeah, but not too far before that, and that was one of the reasons why when we did the matrix, well, not to cut you off, Jeff, I'm sorry, but just to reiterate, one of the reasons why there wasn't quite the jump in the EMS department was because about 6 months before that, we did do a readjustment of wages in that department, just that department by itself. So they did get an adjustment back then prior to that.
And we can talk about that later if you'd like. I do have the pay stubs that show that as well, because I was an EMT at that time.
So, my whole point is that, I think we really need to think out of the box. I agree with Ken. I don't know, if we're ready to give you this rate you're talking about here. But, I do understand that, you're an important department. It does come down to dollars and where those go. So, I'd really like, I don't know if it would take a committee or somebody to look at that. I know Mike has fun, working with the EMTs on stuff, but I think somewhere, in the sheriff and his department, they got to decide whether that's something they want to do. But, to me, I think for the citizens of the county, we really got to try to think outside the box instead of just keep throwing money at your department. That, what I think is going to happen is if we do this raise, Jasper County's going to raise theirs, Stark County's going to raise theirs.
They're already raising, so that would be competitive to them. I did include the 2025 numbers for you.
Just answer my question for me. So if we've got raised ours, 6 months later, they're going to raise theirs, and you're going to be back saying, I don't have any people, I need to raise it again.
Well, the problem is we're already $2 short, and they're raising an additional $3, so that makes us $5 short on the hour for the same amount of hours. So we have to do something. We can't sit at our current wage.
So you don't see any wisdom of thinking outside the box and trying to work?
No, I absolutely think outside the box. The problem is not everybody wants to be an EMT that's on the sheriff's department, things of that nature. Yeah, a lot of them are willing to go and pay for their own certifications, and they like being on our trucks with us, but they don't want to do that full time. They'd rather take police calls. And I am being creative because I have made sure that the driver waiver is active for 2 years, and I have made sure that the driver position has been advertised. So that is a very creative thing that we have not done before in Pulaski County. We had one driver in 2021, and she quickly became an EMT. So I'm trying to get as creative as I can while still maintaining full staff.
Last time I met with EMT, they want money in the check. Is that right?
Money in a check.
They want money on the check. They didn't seem to really care much. A lot of them, they don't stay very long. They don't really care much about her retirement. Some of them, now some of the other ones did care. But, and the benefit package, they were younger people. They weren't using that firearm benefit package because they don't get sick. I like people that are, other than 20
I know, when, Jeff made a comment about, maybe a committee or something or other. I know each department has a liaison, a council liaison assigned to them. Maybe that'd be a good opportunity for that person to sit down with Natasha, go over, some of the strategic planning of how to resolve this and, and bring back to the council a total plan. Somebody can sit down and have an in-depth conversation as to what some of the, the positive things are, things that need to change, things need to be different. Like I said, maybe that is part of it. We've had that conversation before, that maybe it's to the point that, some people want, dollars on the paycheck and benefits mean less. Some people want benefits. Maybe that's another thing that needs to be looked at outside the box from the council and the commissioners as to how they manage that benefit package. But wants more on their wages and wants less someplace else, maybe make them adjustments.
We're paying $10,000 for benefits, they're not using it anyway. Some people were that way, the discussion I had there.
I think you'd,
Who is the person that goes to E.M.S?
Fortunately, I don't have the list in front of me.
I think you'd find that views have changed. I know myself, I took a pay cut to come to Pulaski County. This is my home. This is where I grew up. No, and I'm not arguing. I'm just very intrinsically motivated. I didn't sign up to make a huge bonus. I used to work in the engineering field. Yeah, I could sit behind a desk and make lots of money, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be able to help people. And I think that's why a lot of people get into E.M.S. and they just want a livable wage.
No, and I myself always appreciate any of our department heads, even though sometimes we can't give them directly what they want in the time fashion because it's government. God bless government. But I want you all to come here passionate and be here, with respect. And you have been very respectful, but bring the information to us. Stand up for the department, go for the people that work for them. I can never begrudge somebody for doing that.
So if you look at the packet, it's Culver that told me that they're going to be getting a $3 an hour raise. And they essentially run very little calls every year. We're doing significantly more than them at 1,600 to 1,700.
Is Culver full-time ambulance service?
Yes.
Yeah, I know, I used to have a contract with them. It was like-
Yeah, we had a mutual agreement contract with them.
I used to have.
It's not the three of us.
And I'd have to go back and look at my list. I'm actually thinking it is possibly me that does have them. Which is good. We've been having conversations for a while about this, so I feel a little more informed maybe. Unfortunately, I won't be sitting at this table come next time, so whomever my replacement is will probably take over my responsibilities that I have as liaison. I guess at this point in time, does the board want to, is there any motions or anybody want to act on anything, or do we want to table it and, work with the department and, see what kind of resolutions we can come up with?
I do appreciate that you put all this together and very passionate about your position, which is great, passionate, important. But this is a lot of information to digest in a day on top of all the other stuff on a joint session. So I'm okay with it.
All right, so, yeah, there's no motions at this time. We'll take it under advisement, and, like I said, feel free to reach out to each and every council member and, plead your case and, work with any of us to see if we can't come up with a resolution.
Doors are always open, so we are more than willing to happily host you guys. You want to see our ambulances? You want to see our bases? Absolutely, come stop by, talk to us. I'm there a lot now, so.
I don't know, last couple times I stopped there, you were on the truck all the time, so I couldn't meet with you.
Yeah, that's the thing. I am a working director, so I am actively taking calls.
So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Orger, board appointments?
Good evening, everybody. As I had, I mentioned during my report in the joint session, the new structure we have with the redevelopment, economic development, industrial, and tourism commissions. And generally, I would come before you in January rather than December regarding appointments. However, because of when the council's meeting falls in the middle of the month and the statutory requirement that some of these boards meet in January, it makes it very difficult to schedule meetings without knowing who's even on the board, let alone having gotten their bonds taken care of and had time to coordinate with them. So I'm asking, since there's only one seat turning over and 6 of you will still be on the council a month from now, if you will make a couple of appointments this evening so that I am able to get those meetings on the calendar while in the statutory required period. The Redevelopment Commission has 7 seats and the council appoints 3 of them. And the Redevelopment Commission is one of them that is statutorily required to meet in January. All 3 of your appointees are willing to serve another 1-year term if the council is so inclined, and they are Brian Ledley, Caitlin Byram, and Isaiah Tidwell.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to renominate those 3 people back to the board. So, do I have a motion? All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
And then I have 1 council seat open on the Tourism Advisory Council. Those are staggered seats, so you appointed Vernon Gillum from the state park for a 1-year term, and he is willing to now serve a full 2-year term at the council's pleasure.
Right, I'll entertain a motion to have Vernon Gillum continue on as his seat. Second? All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
All right, Judge Coker.
I'll be really brief. I don't have a request, more of a point of clarification. I met with Laura on, I think it was last Monday, to go through some end-of-year information, grant information. We talked about the community navigator position that had been approved. The question was, when you all agreed that she would come on as a county employee, but that we would fund through a grant the first half of the year and you would fund the second half of the year for employee benefits. Do they start January 1 and we fund them through the grant as county benefits, or do you want us to have her use the open market and then fund it through the grant and then she switches over as of July 1? Either way is fine with me. We can work. I'm just not sure which is easier and which all voted.
Thoughts from the board?
Well, it's my understanding that the insurance would run at the same time that we picked up the wage. So we approved 24,000, right?
I believe that was I can't recall. And that's fine as long as I know that.
Any other comments? Everybody's in agreement?
Okay, very good.
It'll start-
Thank you.
Yeah, starting July whenever she comes onto the county payroll.
Unless they get the grant.
Yeah, there'll be another funding.
We will ask for an extension for the grant, so we will
Yeah.
try to fund the entire year.
Yeah. All right, we have 5 pages of transfers. So we're not going to go down through each and every one of them. They were emailed out, so everybody should have had an opportunity to look at them. Yeah, any questions on the transfers as they were presented? They'll always be available for the public. They need to see them.
Guys, see him, I need that 360 officer wire going open for me. Guess I ain't did a whole wrong.
Yeah. At the additionals that were advertised.
These grants transfer.
Brad, you say you have the additionals? Oh, that's an additional? The additionals are over here. 5 pages of transfers or? I always look them over first.
I swear, how much that? You only have that income tax, emergency services, I don't know how much that brought in a year. Yeah. I'll get over it. You know,
You want 911 or the public safety one that funds E.M.S?
the public safety one. You know how much that brought in?
I can have it for you in a minute.
Everybody seen the transfers then and the additionals?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve transfers and additionals, advertised additionals as presented, or
Yep.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes. And everybody's seen the 11/12/2024 regular meeting minutes? We need to approve and sign the 11/12/2024 regular meeting minutes. We have a motion? All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Passes.
Mike, this year, our certified amount just for the county, not the towns, which also get a share, was just a hair over $825,000.
That basically covers the whole. Didn't you say it cost 600,000?
So that's what she brings back in,
Yeah, but it cost,
about 1.2.
yeah, so he's still.
Yep.
Come out, yeah.
All right, everybody should have seen the packet that's been emailed out and the packet that was just passed out. Last month, we adopted the matrix revision or the new part-time wage revisions for in the matrix for the part-time people. There are a couple of in the matrix that was printed up and there was a couple of things, 11 things total that were a little different from the documentation that was given out. And we need to address that one way or another. Most of it, there's a list here of the 7 things. Most of it was just some typos and some numbers that just weren't quite correct. A few people were getting a little more, a few people were getting a little less. It's ones that are on this list that says changes made. Talk about it, yes? Number one, it is the LTC-A highway surveyor and LTCB-maintenance aviation and solid waste have been adjusted to reflect the inclusion of part-time position and to streamline the matrix to be like all other forms, A10 with 2.5 gaps between each. This was a correction to how I structured it for this year to align it with everything else. Other than, and explained below, this change doesn't affect anyone's wages, but gives these matrices the same structure as all the others. For that one, it's just to get the 2.5% gaps between every segment, the same as all the other matrices. I can give you this date. I mean, I've emailed it out. It's the same structure as what is in all the rest of them, the 2.5% gaps each segment.
Laura,
I mean,
I think I can answer your question. So
When I presented the new matrix last year, with the exceptions of the sheriff's office, which I didn't touch, in E.M.S, which is very different because of how they're structured. It's a 2.5 percentage point gap between every position and every segment of the matrix, and nothing about that has changed. However, on that highway department and maintenance, on those two matrices, the top out was we'll say a level 8, whereas in the other it was a level 10. And there were a couple of places where from like level 2 to level 3, it was 5 percentage points. And all this does is make an 8, a 10, and so on, so that any potential future part-time position has a wage slotted in. It doesn't change anyone's rate at highway, and I don't think in maintenance either. It just means that, for instance, if we ever had a part-time foreman, for instance, there is a wage line for them rather than having to guess it. So it just makes it the same exact structure. No, so no scale changes. It just like, instead of 100% being top out for number 8, it's now top out for number 10. So Gary Kruger is moved from number 8 to number 10. Nobody's rates change other than the 2.8% increase. It just means that it's the exact same structure of 2 part-time rates, A and B, and then 10 full-time rates for all of those departments, and not just the COMOT and PAT matrices.
I mean, nothing on this paper is different from what was given to auditor's office. First put in an updated part-time wage, still the same document. Did such a wonderful job, Mr. Auditor. Let you just go down the rest of it. Questions?
Thanks. So the second one relates to that. And I'm going to note, so after I had done this work at Ken's request, I sent probably 4 pages of changes to Jenny. And probably 80% of what I sent is reflected in here. There are a handful of them that either she or Laura disagreed, just overlooked them. At the end of the day, I don't really care if the council goes with what Laura sent out or these, as long as we're all on the same page. So in the LTCB matrix for maintenance, aviation, and solid waste, our 2 part-time custodians are positioned in the auditor's office matrix 1 tier higher than I had put them in this one. And that is because they are part-time custodians, but they were basically placed as part-time head custodians. We don't have any full-time non-head custodians, but that is a potential position in the matrix if we ever had that issue where one or both of them had to be promoted. And so they're, as I have changed it or recommended to be changed, it just reflects that they are part-time based on a regular custodian and not head custodian pay. Yes. 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 So the part-time rate for the 2 part-time would decrease from 1807 to 1673 based on what I had submitted. Yes.
First, they would have been on the one that we approved, they would have been correct, 7. But we don't have any, so we base people's wages off. Not on head custodian. Custodian. But
Okay, the second part of all of that you said was aviation.
That's just, those are all departments in the same matrix, no changes for aviation.
So it's just those 2
For number 2, yes.
that would be changed. Okay, now, continue.
Number 3, that same LTCB matrix that covers maintenance, aviation, and solid waste. The part-time non-CDL laborers were classified 1 classification too low as LTCB 3, paying them at the B1 rate, they should be classified as part-time B4, paid at the part-time B2 rate of $18.07. Maintenance, solid waste. Part-time solid waste should be $18.07 if they do not have a CDL.
We did provide a,
And the ones that I handed out, yes.
Okay, so all the changes that are listed here are reflected in these Excel.
Yes.
yeah, well, all the changes were already,
I want to see it, I want to hear, and I'm gonna make changes on this, and you're gonna sign off on it, and you're gonna sign every one of these.
so what is your question?
Now, where are we? Recycle transfer?
Recycle transfer part-time rate without a CDL should be $18.07 based on the blue and yellow document.
I'm sorry, which one is it?
Oh,
Part-time, instead of $19.41 an hour, it's supposed to be what? This should be 18.03.
Whatever that last thing was. Next one, based on the wage study, the part-time educator assistant at Soil and Water, so the department's matrix, would be a COMOT 2, like most courthouse deputies, so should be paid at the COMOT B rate of $19.13 an hour, not the COMOT A rate of $18.36. So Shelley Werner on the department's matrix, $19.13.
So does the scale change as well that you've got her on?
Yeah, so she should be part-time COMOT 2, not part-time COMOT 1.
So the scale versus COMA 1, admin assistant, clerical,
She should be in COMOT 2, not COMOT 1.
oh, I don't have a COMA 2.
No, probably not on that one, but you would have it on the courthouse offices one. And that part-time rate would be $19.13. Number 5, the veteran service officer, if it were a full-time position, would be approximately COMOT 4. I think I had to round down a little bit to fit it into one of our matrices. As I had explained last month, as part of the overhaul for part-time, what I had plugged in was that a department head would be paid 2 classifications down, just like every other part-time, but at the top out rate, since the department head is paid at a top out rate. And so that position for a part-time veteran service officer should be the COMOT 2 top out rate of $24.48 per hour.
the veterans officer part-time to come on to the top of the scale.
Yes.
Which is the 2448.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes just if he was full-time.
No, he or she would be top out rate of COMAT 4 if the position were full-time. So it's two categories down, but it's still top out, just top out for the deputy rate.
So it's changing from the matrix that I have at 19.
Yes, ma'am.
To 20.
448.
These people even come in on the range.
I am just giving you the numbers that the matrix says. If you guys want to make changes on where they are in the matrix, that's your prerogative. I would note on a related issue that at some point the county may want to, I don't know, do some sort of, have some conversations with veterans and veteran organizations in the community about whether we should be looking to make that a part-time role. I have heard from a commissioner in a neighboring county that their veteran service office works with a lot of our veterans because we aren't fully staffed in our office. That's not a conversation for tonight, but I wanted to mention that I'd had that conversation with a neighboring county commissioner. Health department, part-time nurse, and I don't even know if we have that position filled right now, but it is listed on the auditor's office matrix, slated at that COMAT 2 rate. Nurse belongs in the PAT 5 rate, or in the PAT matrix, and should have a part-time rate of $27.52.
So you're talking part-time nurse.
Part-time nurse should be in the professional, administrative, and technical matrix with the full-time nurse and paid at a level of $27.52. And I don't even, like I said, especially with now having a contract nurse, I don't know if we're using the part-time nurse position, but it was still in the auditor's office matrix that Jenny had updated.
So the part-time, you said the same pay rate as the public health nurse?
So this PAT 5, but it's part-time, so at the PAT 3 rate of $27.52. In the version that I handed out, it is included in there, yes. And I think I ran out of copies and Teresa has your copy. Sorry. Didn't mean to call you out on that, Teresa. I just realized that I ran out of copies when I got to you. $27.52 per hour. Yeah.
It's just.
Okay, I'm expecting it, sorry.
In the sheriff's office matrix, the head cook and part-time cooks were not moved. They did not have their base rate moved from the chief deputy to the LTCB matrix, which is for all labor, trades, and crafts. It's for the part-time cooks, it is an almost non-existent change. It goes from $16.75 an hour to $16.73 an hour, but the full-time cook does get a raise through this change. Should be at 1941, not 1881. LTCB 4.
So we're changing her from 1881 to what?
1941. In the sheriff's office, Linda Robinson, the part-time admin, was moved to the COMOT matrix, but she was classified as a part-time COMOT 2. Based on the conversations I had had with the Sheriff's Office administration about her job responsibilities, it's my belief that she should be a COMOT 3, not a COMOT 2. So she should be at 1989, not 1913. Part-time COMOT 3 at 1989. Yes, ma'am. Next one, in the legend that Jenny put on the courthouse offices, a lot of the rates were wrong, but in all but one case, she had the right numbers for the actual employees. So, give me 1 second to pull that out. So she had, for instance, I think it was it's the first deputy matrix with that stipend. She had it at 2216, but it should be 2219. And she had most of the first deputies slated at 2219. She just didn't change it up above. So that 2216 should be 2219. The 2292 should be 2295. $23.75 should be $23.72. $24.45 should be $24.48. $25.22 should be $25.25. And $25.98 should be $26.01. I'm not sure. Like I said, she got most of the individual lines, like for Mary and Janice, correct. She just didn't have it right in the table on top. The one that she had incorrect by a few cents is that Diane Hansen is listed at 2216 and should be 2219. And when I got a copy of it from Jenny, it was $22.95. So I don't know if she caught her mistake and went the other direction. But the version I got from her, it was $22.92 up top and $22.95 for Mary. It should be 16 or 19, yes. I don't know why that penny was not rounded the same way. Yes, other than, and I know you had raised this in your email before last month's meeting, it never got hashed out, was what the pay rate should be for summer interns. I had classified them at COMOT 1, so they would get paid $18.36 an hour as part-time employees. Jenny's had them as COMOT 3 employees getting paid at $19.89. I thought that was pretty generous for seasonal part-time educational experiences. What do you mean? It's just it's the, in the version Teresa has, yes, I added a line for COMOT 1 part-time on the prosecutor's office matrix. I would assume all interns, but I suppose that's the council's discretion. I don't know how many departments are hiring interns besides the prosecutor.
Do you hire insurance?
It's been a few years, but I used to, yes. And we always just paid my interns at the one flat part-time rate that the county had at the time. And then the last one, and based on the conversation that happened tonight, I don't know if it should be in the matrix yet or not, is making sure that either now or when the time comes, the navigator is plugged in on the court matrix. Yes. That seems fair.
Everyone understand and know the changes that are made to this matrix.
I think I'm more confused when I came in. I'm only one vote.
Nathan, there are these changes because, people have, longevity rate things or just found that there was issues?
They were just trying to make sure that unless the council wanted specifically to say that somebody falls in a different matrix classification, that all of those part-time rates lined up with, for the most part, with where they should be for part-time equivalent of the full-time rates that we do have. And then there was the other one with the with the first deputies in the courthouse offices, the constitutional offices. I don't remember what happened, but there was some sort of miscommunication last year, and the rate just ended up being like 2 or 3 cents lower than it was supposed to be, that stipend. So this corrected that, because the way it's structured is that if you're a COMOT 2 and you're a first deputy, then you're paid COMOT 4, and it was just not landing quite with where that COMOT 4 position was last year, and now it is. So that it's just entirely within the matrix instead of being a random deviation by a few cents.
And like I said, all the changes that are reflected on this paper are on the original documents that went out. Excuse me, so it's not, nothing's been changed from the original documents that me and Nathan worked on, so it's, it's the same original documents, just making some minor changes that we see when we went over the final document that proved that everything falls in line with matrix that we use for all others. That way everybody's getting treated fairly. Same problem.
What's COMOT stand for?
Oh gosh.
I'm not the only one. People wearing what it means.
Clerical office machine operator and technician. So that's one of those state categories that we adopted last year when we overhauled this. The only highway COMOT is the bookkeeper. Everyone else is LTCA.
Clerical, office machine operator, and technician.
Office machine operator. So computers, fax.
Office machine. All right, any further questions? I assume that Laura will want a motion, so she will make these changes. So entertain a motion to adopt the matrix revisions to make sure all the paperwork falls in line with the matrix that we use today. otherwise it will stay with matrix. That's excuse me. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve and adopt the matrix revisions as discussed in this meeting. Although, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? I vote in favor to pass it.
So who voted in favor? Sheila, Jerry, Jeff, and Ken.
All right, we'll move on to the updated matrix rules. They're kind of the same thing. Sheila worked with this to take the matrix rules and some of the amendments that had been made, stuff to get them all into one document. Went through Kevin and Colleen's office to make sure that we were following the protocol that has been used for it over the years. And also, it was all, once again, emailed out to everybody, so everybody should have had a chance to look at it.
My office won't open. Guess I'll have to get a hold of Rose.
Say get a hold of-
Copy of that, did.
Not with me, I mean, I can pull it up on my computer if you want to read it. Any discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the updated matrix rules.
I'll make a motion.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
I abstain. Didn't see it. Hate to vote for something I didn't see.
I vote in favor of it.
I think you have to vote.
Sheila, Jerry, and Jeff all voted in favor.
Yes. Brad, you voted against it? I can, Tim,
The reason is because I didn't see it.
think I should. Just to make it the. All right, at our joint session, we adopted the updated employee handbook. So we'll move on to the solar resolutions. There was a couple solar resolutions that have been emailed out to all the folks at the table here. Seen them? We'll put Mr. Tankersley, it'll be the last time I get to put him under the spotlight.
I drafted I drafted these because I was requested to do so. The one was resolution establishing separate funds for solar project economic development payments. That came out of the confusion. It seemed to be that what to do with the money that came in already on economic development payments through the renegotiation of the economic development agreements towards the end of this year. Solar companies agreed to pay additional money. Over $500,000 was collected by the county, and I believe there was no fund in which to put it in. And so it went into general. So the concern that was raised with me was, if we just put all the money in general, how are we going to account for it? How are we going to designate it for future projects? Or some of these payments are going to come in over the next 20 years, a lot of them over 10 years. So they're coming in at different times and different amounts. And so the goal was to have separate funds for each project. There's 3 projects that'll be paying. There's 4 projects in the county, but one of them doesn't have an economic development agreement, the BP project. So 3 of them will be paying. And it was just an idea to set up a separate fund for each one. So but it could be let's see what we say, to receive the economic developments and distribute funds so that an accurate accounting of the payments and distributions will be maintained for the public on each separate solar project. And the purpose of the funds will be at the discretion of the council, with the goal being to the elimination of government debt, tax relief, or the improvement of services, facilities within the county, including but not limited to the beautification and functionality of towns, schools, parks, libraries, and any other project that will benefit the citizens of Pulaski County and improve the quality of life for the citizens within the county. The council may alter the purpose of the funds at its discretion with a majority vote. So it begins and ends with the council. You can do what you want with the money. Just kind of flowery language to say, you might want to set it aside and do something good with it, and keep an accurate accounting of it. That's really the gist of it.
Yeah, like Kevin said, this is just to establish the funds and give places some kind of broad overview of what the funds could be used for.
We talked about putting that rainy day fund. When I spoke with Teresa today, there's, all go to rainy day fund, but there's what, sublines or
Some accounts.
Yeah.
And that's why Laura already has it set up where, yeah, it's in county general, but it is listed under its own thing. So it says like family, or it says next era, or whatever. So it's not necessarily just in a big clump, without any type of accounting for it. So it really is, and we already have so many funds as it is. I mean, I agree, the accounting for it is critical, I agree. But she does already have it set up to where it says county general, because I've seen it myself today when I got the information. It does say for each one of the solar projects, it's got its own line item, so you can see it. I mean, it's not like it's, just a big clump in county general.
Are those funds advertised in the newspaper and balances once a year? It seems like it would be. I just bought food. Leaving those. And I like it being separate. There's 3 more. So you will be able to see what you pay them.
I would not recommend keeping county general, it's just quickly because we received the money and it needed to go somewhere and no one had decided or told me where it had any specific place that you wanted it, so put it in there for the time being. And I told you at the time that it could be adjusted, moved out into wherever you want it. I don't see the necessity of 3 funds. 1 fund, solar project funds, and then it can be separated out into each family solar or whatever you want in it. But again, it's up to you, and whatever you're doing, you put what you decide could burden your next year's auditor. And it's not a good idea to burden her any more than she's going to be as a first year auditor. Just saying, my opinion. Which I thought would have been asked before any of this was decided, and since I do keep the books for the county, but you know what? We don't care, right?
What does council's table feel?
I think that Teresa's gonna be the one to have to take care of it. And she's comfortable with just being deposited into, bring a day fund to take care of it. Let's not reinvent the wheel if we don't have to.
Well, if we have transparency,
You'll have it.
Or even leave it where it's at, where she's already got it, until we make decisions on what we're gonna do with it.
But then, the way Kevin's, it says in a flowery way, what to do with it. You just put it in the general fund. I don't know, I just think it should be something, it should be used for some good, because the people have to look at it, and they at least ought to get it.
Well, that'll be our decision later on.
I mean, the upside to the resolution is the fact that it's got some documentation behind it. It's still, and it even explains in the resolution that it can be changed, by any board at any other time, but for me, for the moment, it gives it a place and a time.
So Kevin, who asked you to prepare it?
Me and Sheila talked about it. I mean, it seemed like common sense too.
I talked with Sheila, we talked one day about it too.
And on the same note, yeah, I think me and Mike had that conversation. I've had it with Kevin, I've had it with Sheila, I've had it with the number.
Everybody's agreed with the people should get them, that look at them want to get something.
Maybe the right compromise is, and I think Teresa hinted at this, one solar fund. So, you put it in general fund, then nobody's going to be able, unless they actually go to the auditor's office, they're not going to be able to get in Gateway and see how much of that general fund balance is solar projects and what, if anything, we've done with it. Same with rainy day fund. And rainy day fund theoretically can get all sorts of things washed into it. If you create one solar fund, it's still a little bit extra burden for the auditor's office, but you're not managing three. In the next couple of years, we're only going to be getting revenue from one project, but that way Gateway's going to have a separate line item that is explicitly solar. Anyone in the public can get on there every time the annual report goes out and says, oh, the county brought in $350,000 in solar money this year, and the county spent $174,524.80 in solar money. And that way you've got a little bit of transparency. It's clear that that money came in from a very specific purpose and went into its own fund, but you're reducing some of the burden compared to what the resolutions propose. I would agree. I don't think you're prepared to adopt anything at this point.
Not taking comment from the public at this point.
So I bet you just table until the next meeting. It's 8:30.
No, and
Some folks been here too long.
no, and you.
Well, I don't have a problem with table, but I just don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, I'd vote for it today. I don't know, I want everybody to think about it. Teresa, you can see the transparency. It'd be nice to see when they get on there, they don't have to do math.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I really think that we're initially in the statement, iterated that one, not three, four, or whatever, at least you could, because when we proceed in, you say, this is from Mammoth, or this is from so-and-so.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to see. It's like, well, Mammoth's over that way, so if Beaver Township or something had a project or something, it'd be like, well, yeah, we'll give that out of Mammoth. I don't know.
If you have one fund, and I'm not saying that makes it any simpler, but 3 line items in it, one for each. I just think that it needs to be broke down into, that way you can always track, which one, make sure that all the payments for that one come, and you're not looking at them mixed in, trying to do math. I would think actually that would be less work on you, because you don't have to look at that, even if it was one solar fund, and then 3 line items in it. What are you saying, Laura? Could you let the public and council know what you're discussing?
We're just talking about how the fund works and how it works at the end of the year. That's all she's saying. This is not, at the end of the year, what we have to do.
That's up to the board if they want to make a motion or not.
Well, we gotta decide one or 3.
one time, they'd have the three things, can you just edit the resolution before we sign it?
Yeah, it's just a Word process, it's a Word document.
So we can make a motion to have one, and we can have three subcategories.
It's not only, well, just so you, there's gonna be payments coming into these from 3 different contracts,
Right?
3 different amounts, different numbers of years. So one fund, yeah, you could 3 line item it, I suppose. It's just accounting, that's just how you account for it. I don't care, whatever you want to do.
Let it be the board's wishes. Want to table it? We can table it.
I'll make a motion to have the one fund with the 3 line items, 3 separate funds for the payments.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Can we even vote on that when it's not even prepared? We need to wait for it to be in writing or is this?
Something in writing to sign.
Yeah, I mean,
Vote on it.
we've done that multiple times, voted on something, pending the documentation, and when the document comes in, then we sign it, so that wouldn't be the first there, but that's up to the board. It doesn't have to be, like I said, I mean, there was a motion, it can die from a lack of a second, it can not be passed because of a vote, that's. Right, so we do have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second? All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah. It's one fund, 3 subcategories, right?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Right, passes. So Brad said no and Kim abstained. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the other resolution I drafted was a resolution establishing separate funds for solar project. I'm sorry, that's not it. Apologize. Got 2 of the same one. Should I give it to you, Jeff? Oh, yeah. Resolution establishing a fund, so one fund for solar project compliance services. This is in anticipation of the commissioners are considering a contract with VS Engineering to serve as a compliance monitoring service for the commissioners overall. And this would be a fund that would collect the payments, which are best described as an advance payment of fees. So the solar companies, all 4 of them, will be contributing to this fund to pay for this consultant. And it's going to collect probably a lump sum to begin with, and then it'll be dissipated. And then another lump sum will be put in, depending on how the construction goes. Nobody really knows how much time it's going to take. There's projections and how much work VS is going to do. VS is going to serve in a different capacity than the engineering firm that is currently contracted with the building department is BF&S. VS Engineering works with them regularly. VS Engineering is offering a service of overall solar compliance. They're going to work for the commissioners. They're going to monitor the road use agreement, drainage agreement, economic development agreements, make sure we're getting paid on time, making sure invoices go out, dealing with all the department heads individually, dealing with the public, and then reporting to the boards, just like Nathan kind of does on on the courthouse construction project. You need somebody that's going to be there, that's knowledgeable, that's going to tell you, this is what's happening day to day, and you'll get a nice written report, and all that's going to be funded by the payments from the solar company. So you need somewhere to put them and then count. That's all this resolution is.
All right. But yeah, so in the end, and I know earlier the contract with the consultant was not passed because they're waiting for some other information and all. So this is, in the beginning, if that would have passed, this was anticipation.
Yeah, they're waiting on an agreement from all of the solar companies to pay for it. They've all verbally confirmed that they will pay for it. There's details to be looked out, like everything.
So let me get this straight. Another fund will need to be created.
Right.
And the solar companies are going to give money to the county.
Right.
And we're going to know the difference between what they're contributing towards this company.
You lost me.
We're going to know the difference between what the solar companies are paying us, what they're supposed to be paying us, and what they're to pay for this contracted.
Yeah, two very separate things, right? The first one we discussed tonight was specifically for economic development payments, which are already set by contract with the solar companies. Those are the payments that'll be come in. It'll be at the discretion of the council to spend on what they want. These payments is a new thing that they're agreeing to pay, totally separate from the economic development agreement. It's they're actually not obligated to pay this at all. They've agreed to pay it because we asked them to. A solar compliance monitoring fund. I would expect it's going to be in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $750,000 over the course of the project, over the course of the 4 projects total. So, and then what you're going to do is get it. So you're going to get a couple of lump sums. So let's just say you get 100,000 from each project, and then you're going to then bills are going to come in from VS Engineering. Contract with VS is with the commissioners, and then you're going to pay that bill and pay the county another 5% surcharge. So there is money to be made on top of 5% surcharge. So arguably you can make another 30 to 50,000 course of the project.
What I'm trying to say is, when the treasurer receives money in, we're going to be able to differentiate between 100,000 that's being paid towards this contracted person and the money that is coming in for payments.
Yeah, so you're, yeah.
Just wanting to make sure that there's a when a check comes in, there's a difference.
Yeah, this check goes into, this check is.
I mean, part of that would have to do with how well you are at invoicing it, which we're not particularly good at, but regardless, yes, I would think you could just simply ask, what was this payment for? Put it in that fund. I would think that the auditor's office, that's what we also do. That's why we'll have a contracted person pick up the slack. We need it.
Won't VS do the billing?
They're going to bill the county for their services, and then the county is going to pay them out of the fund that was provided by the solar companies, and pay the county a little bit of money too.
So where are they from?
Indianapolis.
I
The main person is Jenny Monroe. She was going to come tonight. She's going to come to the next meeting. She was recommended as an overall solar project manager 2 years ago because she's very effective at communication. She's helped the town of Culver completely renovate there, get them a stellar community grant, and ran through that for years and completely beautified that town and made them great at grant writing. She's a Notre Dame grad, just like Nathan, and she's very well versed in writing and communicating, and that's what we need. Right. And but then she went to work for VS in the interim and VS offers this service, so she's the point person.
I guess ultimately,
She's from Culver.
sometimes we get a little skewed on what our role is. Our role is, I don't know if the commissioners are gonna hire these folks. or
I
not.
don't either.
That's not, I have no idea.
It's just if,
All I
if
know
they
is this-
do, where are you gonna put them?
Yeah, this was a discussion that they are looking at hiring somebody, whether it's BS or if it's Fred, or Sally, I don't know. But if they do, and the solar companies have agreed to pay for these services, plus pay us, pay the county a dividend on this, then if that money comes, where does it go?
Yeah,
And this resolution is our part as to say, the money goes here.
and you could wait until they see if the commissioners sign
Yeah,
it. If they don't, there's no need for this resolution. If they do, you probably need a place to put the money.
Like I said, the resolution was, there was two resolutions that were presented in our packet. I'm presenting the two resolutions here at the meeting. Since BS or nobody at this point in time has been hired, it may not even be pertinent to even worry about it, but it's in our packet, so we bring it up for discussion.
Might be 2 months, might be 6 months.
No, I would guess, if they sign a contract, they're gonna start working right away. Like, I would guess first of the year. Maybe sooner.
I'd rather just wait till the commissioner sign your contract and go on from there. Everybody else is.
I'll just tell them to wait until the fund's created.
Yeah.
Before they put the money. Yes, they won't start sending bills, I don't expect, for a month.
Okay, so that one will table at the moment till the future. All right, we are ready for public comment and board reports. Is there anything from the board that they want to report on? All right, public comment. You had something, Jenny, you wanted to, All right, go ahead, Mr. Warrior, since you're standing.
If I don't need it, it's a very expensive luxury. If I need it, it's cheap at any price. Think about that. And the service must be supported.
Let me go back to, let me go back to Jenny since she was wanting to say something earlier.
Yeah, just something to consider. I had a training last week for commissioners down in Indianapolis and talked with many commissioners from all over Indiana in regards to solar development. I think 70 new elected commissioners were elected because of industrial solar in their communities. Many of them said that the money that is coming in, they are setting aside in a fund not to be touched for a period of years until everything is done and it's been done well. It's being used to remedy maybe problems, issues they had with the construction. Maybe they didn't do it the right way, maybe they defaulted on their contracts, but that's just something you may want to consider before you spend that money. You may want to make sure that these projects have been done and they've been done well, and that there aren't additional expenses that need to be made.
Thank you.
To protect the county, everybody in the county.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to thank Laura. I appreciate the overview of the matrix adjustments, and upon sitting here and hearing some of those wages, I am a little bit, I'm a lot in shock over the long debate over the E.M.S wages versus what some other employees are being paid. I'm not here to say who deserves more or less than different, but it was really eye-opening to hear that. And again, Laura, I do appreciate your comment, the discussion on that.
Thank you.
I'd like to appreciate Mike T's comment about the money going to the townships that have to live around these solar projects if they come to fruition, as opposed to seeing a beautification in downtown Winnemac, because the people who are going to be most affected negatively are in those rural townships. So, Mike, I'm with you on that one, buddy. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Has anybody talked to the people in Stark County that leased out their land for solar? Because the word on the street is that they're not getting paid, or very little payment for their acreage that they've leased the solar. But they can't talk about it because they signed non-disclosure agreements. So and they put the property up for hock for the loans to buy the solar panels. So have any of you, by chance, talked to any, because, I mean, it's gonna be difficult because, they signed non-disclosure agreements. But, you might want to do a little ferreting around. Also, aren't like several of you to be gone at, come January? Are a lot
No,
of you to be present?
Actually, only one council member will not be here after January 1st, and that will be myself.
But I know Jennifer is gonna be, sitting at the table, is that correct?
As commissioner, not on our board, or not on this board, she will be a commissioner.
Okay. But, I mean, my point is there's been several issues with, also flooding issues. But like I said, the word on the street is that these people have been conned. They're not being paid.
And for us, we are the funding body. We have no, other than being citizens, we have no governing in that portion of it. That would be at a commissioners meeting. So feel free to go to a commissioners meeting and voice your opinion. I'm going to give other people a chance to speak. So, yes, sir.
Well, you know, the county lawyers leave it too at the end of the year, right?
Correct.
And I mean, why is such a rush for everything? I mean, it's just kind of odd that all this is rushing because, I mean, what's going to happen if your property gets flooded because they put that solar in there and it's not now? Who do you think the people's going to sue? They're not going to sue solar. They're going to sue the county.
I've got a good question on that. I have somebody across the road from me that's filling in wetlands from a pond they're digging. Who's going to pay me if my land gets flooded? Nobody. So I mean, and that's not important to our debate. Our debate, like I say, once again, is about where the funds go from whatever gets taken care of. I understand what you're saying and I hear you, but this board has no bearing on them decisions. This board deals only with the funding of the county. We don't deal with, whether it comes or it goes or it happens or it don't happen. If it happens, our job is to try and work out the best economic agreements that we can, try and work out the best funding that we can for the county, to try and bring in the most revenue for the county, to try and offset property taxes and give others a break in the county.
Well, yeah,
that's our job.
You really didn't do that this last time either because you gave them a tax abatement and then my taxes went up. So what was that?
There's a lot of things that fall into taxes. Yes, Jenny.
Just, you made me think of this, and in making decisions with, for instance, engineering firms, that I, for one, will be attached to for the next 4 years as commissioner, I do feel like it would have been wise to ask the incoming commissioners to attend these meetings when we're talking about agreements I'm going to have to live with for the county for the next 4 years. That probably should have been considered.
I will let that once again be a debate with, those that sit on the board now, and, they're all open board meetings, they're all open discussions. So unless it's an executive session, the public's welcome to all of them and they're all posted. So, unfortunately, once again, I'm sorry. Once again, this board had no directive on that.
I understand that. It just was that it would, even for your board, it'd be courteous to make sure incoming elected officials are part of those discussions because we will be in charge of working with those for the next 4 years.
I know everything that, once again, like I said, I can't speak for others. Yes, sir.
May I approach the mic?
Yes.
First off, thank you for what you all do. Being a retired teacher, if I had a student that was hearing impaired and I had the means to use something like this, I think that it would be my responsibility to make sure that I use it. There are 11 people on this panel and 16 mics. I have this turned up all the way, and some of you refuse to even turn it on. It's a real simple tool. You turn it on and you can move it closer to you in order for us to hear. Thank you for those of you who did use it. I haven't been to very many of these meetings, and this has come up several times. So what I'm asking, it's not that difficult. It's a switch, and you can move it closer. You all can hear you, but we can't hear you. So I hope that makes it in the newspaper. It's a real simple fix. Had I refused, if I was given this tool and there was a hearing impaired student in my class and I refused to use it,
Thank you, Don. All right. No other comments? We will adjourn our meeting for 12/9/2024. The next commissioners meeting is 12/16/2024. Next council meeting is 1/13/2025, and the next joint session is February